That'd be it. This looks like it'll be better. Okay, take two. What's up, everybody? My name is Uko, and I love this game to death, and I want everybody to be equally accessible to it. So what I'm trying to do is to kind of go through Onett manip. You're gonna want to have a little bit of knowledge before watching this, probably, like at least be aware of what's going on, and before you learn this. In any variety, probably have done a few glitchless runs first. That at least that's the advice that I have, so that you're comfortable with the movement through Onett, especially. Um, Onett manipulation is all the manipulation you'll need to get a really strong time. Twosome manip is really mostly for world record level type stuff. So if you're trying to sub 4, I would recommend starting with Onett only, and if you start to get really comfortable, then move on to Twosome. But for now, if I mess up RNG manip, I need to... so this is my first sub 1830 that I got. It was a 1829.9. It is not the fastest Onett ever done, but it's like 0.3 or 4 seconds off, so it's really good. I don't think there were any silly things or mistakes in it. So this should be good to use for a tutorial type deal. So before you start, make sure that you make sure that you name all of your characters and everything like that. Something that's 1 character long, and make sure you take 20 cursor movements to get there, so that RNG is set up properly when you start the run. And I'm gonna make sure to point out whenever I move a certain way to save time, or I move a certain way to maintain RNG. So I'm moving this certain way here to save time. You don't have to optimize your diagonal up left movement to get into the door. That's just something that I do to be fast. Something else that I do to be fast is I hold straight left here, and then in order to get below the table, because if you hold straight left here, you'll glide above the table, and that's bad. You don't want that. So I literally just, I'm holding left, and I flick the D-pad down for like a pixel. Whoops. Let me make sure that you can see that. So that little that you saw, that was me doing that. And I'm going to do it again upward, so that I can reach this present from as far away as possible when I check it with L. But you don't have to do that. You can hold straight left and then check the present from below if you want to be safe. So equip the cracked bat with the optimal mount. I did the same thing again, the 1 pixel upward flick. And then same thing here, 1 downward pixel flick, and then same thing again. So when you get outside, what I like to do is I hold down left until I'm vertically aligned with this grass patch here. And then I hold straight down until I reach the patch, and then a little bit below. Because once you get here, for whatever reason, the game always lags like for a couple frames as soon as you like walk past this kind of barrier. And once you're there is when I like to hold down left, so that you're saving as much time as possible, but you're also not running into the wall. As soon as Ness is like around here, like the bottoms of his feet are around like here, where my cursor is pointing, these pixels, is when I like to hold straight left, so that I'm not moving diagonally, but I'm like mixing my diagonal with my horizontal, if that makes any sense at all. I'm gliding off of the side of this cliff, basically. Then I move up against the flowers. All of this, I move diagonally up left when I'm diagonally aligned with the flowers. And all of this, like I'm trying to say, if I stop stuttering, all of this is time-saving movement. None of this matters, because RNG 3 is turned off right now. So when I'm around here vertically, I like to hold left so that I bump off of that cliff. Damn it! Sorry. Sorry, let me turn these off real quick. And then when I'm here, when I'm standing around here, I wait as long as possible to move down left this way and then I glide off of this cliff so that I also glide off of this cliff. And then hold on, let me turn these off. I got work in a couple hours. Okay. So I'm holding left, and then as soon as I get to like this grass patch and then a little bit to the left, I'm like on the very left side of the patch. That's when I move up left in front of the bushes so that I don't hit them. And then I like to glide off of the left side of this one and then kind of move up this way to where I glide off the left side of this one. And then I kind of do a diagonally upright and then right motion to glide off of this. It's a lot of gliding, it's a lot of tight movement just to save as much time as possible. But you can take it a little bit lenient here because RNG 3 is off, like I said. Oh, moving up into Pokey, I like to go upright and then right into him to check him from the left so that it saves some frames. But the risk is that you're talking to this guy sometimes. Sometimes you lose your whole run just because you accidentally pressed L too early and you talk to this guy. So for safety, I like to just kind of hold right, and you're gliding off of this. Hold right, and then move upright into Pokey so that you cut him off from below so that you're far away from this guy and you don't accidentally talk to him. When you're done there, just kind of make your way back. Gliding on stuff, being tight with your movement. Because a lot of new runners especially, like even when not doing manipulation in general, I wish I could show you, but like people be taking paths like woo, and that loses a lot of time over a 4-hour run. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm trying to like, because people ask me all the time, like, or they never ask me really. Like when people ask me how my Onett times are so fast, I'm like, well, there's stuff you can do. So that's the whole point of this. Like I'm not any more skilled than anyone else. I'm not some kind of magical god. I just do. I have a lot of like little quirks and strats and things like that I do to save time and to be more consistent, and that's why I want to make this tutorial and share it with everybody so that nobody's left in the dark. No clue. I think I'm sub to like. So when I come downstairs here, I like to hold down right until Ness is horizontally aligned with these weird things on the floor, whatever they are, the edges of the wooden panels, I guess. So when you're aligned with that horizontally is when I turn right so that I don't bump into Mom. And then what I like to do here is once I'm diagonally aligned to where I'll hit the couch dead center if I move up into it, I move up there and I do a weird kind of like bounce type motion. It's literally just holding upright until you're inside of the couch and then holding right to where you glide outside of the couch so that you're as far up as possible without you know going above the couch or anything like that. So you hit the event trigger, Pokey comes out and blah blah blah. Make sure you say yes to him. From there you move straight left into Mom. And doing it this way makes it to where there's no risk to where you'll accidentally talk to King. And you've saved the maximum amount of time possible. Kind of make your way back downstairs again. Same thing as before. And one of those is your. You can align with these, or you can be a little bit above, like I am. But for safety, try to probably be around here. At this point, RNG 3 is on, so now your movement matters a little bit more. You don't want to go down in here too far because you will probably hit a trigger of some kind. I like to talk to Pokey from dead center to save the amount of time that it takes for him to walk into you. And then from there, I hold straight right, move up into the door. And then I can hold left to glide off the edge of the couch. And behind the couch, controversy. This is what I like to do to get out of the room. It's a little strange. You don't have to do this. What a lot of runners do is like they hold left, they glide off the couch, and then they check the phone, talk to dad, all that stuff, and then they move down and right to get out of the room. And that's a lot easier than what I do, because what I do is I like to make sure that whenever I check the phone, if you look right here, you can see the top row of pixels. The very top of Ness's hat is 1-to-1 horizontally aligned with the white part of the phone. And I look for that every single run. A lot of people don't know that. I look for that every single run to see whether or not I can hold straight right to get behind king, or if I need to move up a little bit more and then move to the right to get behind king. So since I'm 1-to-1 aligned, I can hold right and move behind king with no problem. So I do that, and once you're kind of in this area, you have to move, and this is a very hard thing. It's not that hard, but it takes practice, is what I mean. So when you're in around this area, I'm pointing like you can see where my finger is. When you're around in this area, you got to move up right and then right some more. I do like I keep dropping my controller on the floor. I do like a swivel type motion. So I'm holding right and then up right and then right again. If that makes any sense at all, I hope it does. And then I hold right to where I can leave the room. So when you get out here, it's kind of the same deal as before. Down left until you're aligned with this, move down. But instead of going here, you're going to go behind these bushes. And this movement is really lenient. And the AB you do is like here. It can be like almost anywhere in here and not have a problem. Normally there should be a dog that moves to the right and then down into the bush as you get below it. Sometimes you can get like a crow and a snake type situation, and there's also a situation where there's like a crow over here, I think, and the dog is like here to where it moves here, and then but I don't deal with that, but you can probably ask some other runners about it. The dog is like right here, and then you can do A down B instead. But there's so many different things that can happen inside of the house to where you get this regular dog to where I don't ever worry about it. And as long as you're moving as consistently as I do, or as consistently as I'm saying to do, you'll see this dog every time.
I love that emote so much.
So the AB can be done pretty much anywhere in there. Kind of make your movement tight like before. These crows, don't worry about them. Same movement as before. Just pretend they're not there. And wait as long as possible to turn down left, and then same movement as before. You're just doing 3 ABs, one here, and like look for these things. So you're here, here, and here at this kind of corner. You can also do the latter 2 ABs kind of together in this little spot. That's what Cerium does.
Yeah, I think
Both of those options work. Make sure on this way up you go behind the bushes instead of in front of them, because that matters. And then same as before, glide, glide. And here you're going to want to make sure that instead of gliding off of this cliff, you want to make sure that you're at least 1 pixel above this top row here of the cliff. So you don't want to be standing with Ness's feet here, you want to be 1 pixel above that. Because 1 pixel above this line, this row of pixels here, is an RNG3 trigger. You need to be at least 1 pixel above that.
After my sub expires, I'm gonna sub back to you for $4.99, and then once the day comes that I want the sub to come out,
and from there, just kind of make your way up. To get through here without bumping into them, I like to look for being directly in between these 2 patches. And to save a little bit of time, I like to go from like a little bit to the left, but you can probably be majorly dead center and be totally fine. Then I just make my way up, talk to Pinky from below. You have to be below, you can't be above. And then something that I discovered that we can do, and it saves a handful of frames up to like half a second. Instead of just holding straight right to get into the event trigger, the trigger is like around here. So what I like to do is to, like, just before the trigger, instead of continuing to hold right, I move up until Ness's hat is like perfectly covering the grass patch. I don't always hit it perfect, but moving up at all will save you time because Buzz is scripted during his animation to come up out of the meteor and then move to where Pokey is first and then Ness. So if Pokey is closer to the meteorite, then Buzz doesn't have to fly as far. And Buzz flies pretty slow during this, so it saves a significant number of frames.
More money.
And then make sure you say yes to him. And after that, you're going to want to do an AA, 3 ABs, and 3 Ls. So open and close the menu 3 times, and then check the error 3 times. Now RNG3 is back off, so your movement can be a little bit more lenient if you want. Except for, oh, I didn't even mention this the first time coming up. Both times that you come up through here, there are NPCs down here to the left. The traveling entertainers in front of the shack. They're always there. They aren't like disabled or anything for nighttime Onett. They're still there. And they're loaded off screen and they're moving off screen. RNG is advanced by NPC movements as well as many other things. But NPC movements affect RNG, so you have to be careful with your movements when you're in this kind of area. So that's why it's important that you move these specific ways there. So once you're here, go ahead and do an auto fight, just left auto. And in order to not cancel auto fight, I mash A and L.
I hope I did.
Or no, I don't. No, I don't. I mash A and select. But you can mash A and L as well. Picky should do a shield, and then or Pokey do a shield. Pokey uses Ness as a shield, and then Buzz hits him for 109. That's how you know that you're good. You're still on RNG. And the second time that Buzz does the shield, turn 3, that's when I hold B and then mash A and L. So that I'm still mashing semi-optimally, and then I'm canceling auto. And then I can move back on to mashing all my buttons. And then you're going to want to do either right auto instead of left auto, or B bash. Either one of those will work. In fact, B auto works as well. Just kind of move your way up into the house. This VOD has a little bit of frame dropping here. Sorry about that. This is an instance where your movement can be too good. So if you're moving left and then you talk to Aloysius going diagonally up into him too far to the right, it's very hard to do. But if you do it by accident, Lardna moves around a bunch during this cutscene, and he goes upstairs and then comes back down. She can get an extra movement in to the left if you talk to him too fast. So for safety, if you really want to be safe, you can talk to him like dead center. I like to cling a little bit to the right anyway, though, just because I think it's worth the risk for me. But this is the kind of NPC configuration you want to see, is she's facing up and then he's about to move down like that. But what I like to do is around this kind of yellow line or whatever color it is, that's when I hold down right to get to the wall. And once you're very pixel aligned with the very bottom row of pixels in the room, that's an RNG3 trigger that you have to cross. So make sure that you're very, like, the bottoms of Ness's feet are touching the black void. And then hold right.
Should be okay, right?
You can mess this up and still be okay. You can activate the Buzz trigger and still be too far up, just as long as you hit the very bottom row once. Probably at any time that you're in this room, honestly. Is good. As long as it's after you talk to Aloysius, of course. So make sure you say yes and then no here. And then make your way out. Lardna shouldn't move. If you've done everything correctly so far, she shouldn't move.
Let's hope.
If you remember that RNG 3 trigger from earlier I was talking about, with the 1 pixel above the cliff edge, if you don't hit that, that can lead to some errors here. Lardna will move wrong inside, and there might be a butterfly down here. And you really don't want to see butterflies, because they make RNG go crazy. So when you come out of this building, you want to make sure that you hold straight down. And then once you're diagonally aligned with the bottom of this path here, that's when you turn down right. Because that is an RNG3 trigger that you have to hit. There's a line around here somewhere. Then I follow the bottom of the path until I'm diagonally aligned with this grass patch. And I should mention that all of this pathing is very important. This is probably one of the tightest parts of Onett manip. Is like anytime that you're walking a long distance through town, is it's very important that you keep your pathing tight and consistent. So I look for very specific visual cues to follow, like the ones that I've been mentioning. The very bottom of this path, diagonally aligned with this patch, and then horizontally aligned with these patches. And then this crow is going to be right here. Don't worry about him. The crow can probably move in like a bajillion different directions, and RNG is still normal. Most commonly, you'll probably see him not move at all or move over here. But he can do this, that, and the other and still be okay. So keep moving right, and like not directly in between these two patches, but like 75% leaning to the right is when I turn down right, so that you get between this tree and this tree. And then you can kind of glide along the side of it here so that you're aligned this way to this grass patch below. And once Ness's feet are on top of it, turn down left and then glide off of this tree. Follow the top of the path here for a little bit. And then this turn is rather important. You would rather be either directly in the middle or like a little bit too far to the right. You don't want to be too far to the left. So make sure you're either like here or something. Like try to be in between the direct center and the right side of the bottom path, basically. Because there's a couple things that can happen. What you're going to want to do is keep holding down left until you're perfectly horizontally aligned with these 3 patches. If you're up like way too high, movement's gonna be wrong. RNG3 might be wrong, I don't know, but you're gonna be off regardless. So just for safety, I like to make sure that I'm perfectly aligned with these 3 patches. I actually think it's like 4. There's probably another one over here that you're aligned with. And if you miss, you can make the adjustment to where you're fixed. So like if you accidentally turn left too soon and you're like, oh no, I'm not aligned, you can fix that. So just make a quick movement to where you fix it. And there's a couple things that can happen with this lady right here. She'll start right here and she'll either move down, left, up like that, or she'll move right, left, up. Either of those is fine. Don't worry about it. And then for here, I like to just be dead center of the path when I move down left. And then I glide off of the side of the building. And this part right here is a little weird. This is a relatively new strat. It saves time and is easier to do than what you had to do before. But it looks weird and it takes a little bit of practice to get used to it. But you're going to want to hold left until you're like just to the left of this kind of corner of this weird brick flower thing here, to where you can hold up, glide off of it, and get into the door that way. It's due to some RNG3 trigger stuff, and that it takes practice, but it's a lot easier than it looks, so don't worry about it too much. When I get in here, hold straight left, and move up into the ATM. You would rather be too far to the left approaching the ATM than too far to the right, so that you don't accidentally miss when checking it. You also don't want to be to the right of the ATM when you check it, because there's probably an RNG3 trigger here you have to cross. I don't know the specifics, but you want to be You'd rather have the left side of Nest be in front of the ATM than be like all the way over here and check it from the right side. So withdraw $30. Buy the T-ball bat from this dude. And then sell the old one. And then say no. And hold right to get out of the building. So there's a couple things that can happen here. Hold left, and roughly when you're vertically aligned with this pole here, that's when I hold down left, and then keep holding down left until you're roughly vertically aligned to where you'll glide off of the left side of this bush. Like that. And there's a couple different ways that this granny can move. She'll either start here, move left up, and I feel like that's what I see the most. But she can also start like over here and then move left up like that. Either of those are acceptable. Just do what I do in this video here, move down, and then once you're diagonally aligned with the top of this sidewalk where it meets the road, that's when I turn down left. And then kind of when I'm like in between, vertically aligned in between this mailbox and these patches here is when I turn down. And then when I'm about in between these two patches, this is very lenient, but that's basic. These are the visual cues that I look for to keep my movement consistent across every single run. Coming here, 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 and then I can glide off of this building and make it into the arcade that way. What's up, Insane and Garcia? It's not really a lot of memorization, it's just muscle memory. It becomes very easy to retain all that stuff. Like, I have to dig into my brain to remember what the inputs are, but when I get there, I can just, like, I can do it in my sleep. It's like riding a bike, basically. And it's all a lot easier than it sounds. It's not nearly as daunting as it looks. Oh, but the other possibility, Granny can start like roughly in the same spot, move left into you, and then when you're like down here, instead of moving up, she'll move left again, like a small left movement. I see that very commonly too. Instead of turning down left here, where the sidewalk meets the road, you're gonna want to wait a little bit longer and then move down left when the sidewalk meets the grass. And then same principle. When you get around here vertically, move down, down right, and glide off the building into the arcade. So to get into the arcade, you don't want to go in, like optimally, you don't want to go in the left side of the door. You actually want to hold right. And what I like to do is when I'm about here, is I hold up right to where I get stuck against the bush for like a fraction of a second, like a couple frames, and then I hold up into the door from there. And when you're here, there's a couple different NPC configurations you'll see. I most commonly see this one, where this dude moves down and this guy's over here doing whatever. But I sometimes also see this guy move up, and then this guy's like over here dancing around. No, I'm doing both. I'm doing both. I'm good. I'm just trying to focus on this, really. But yeah, move up into there. Once you enter the building, do an AA. And then once, like, right before this dude talks to you, if you're holding straight left, he's gonna move into the arcade first, get stuck there, and then wait until you're, like, around here to get unstuck, and then move up into you. Right before he moves up into you like that, I do an AB, so, like, around here. And then he encounters you, and this dude right here should be facing down against the wall. Go ahead and either bash him or auto fight him, doesn't matter. I prefer auto because it's a little bit faster for me. But you do you. And then same thing, kind of just move up into this guy, make sure you mash for no, and then auto him. You do a smash. And for this part, you don't want to be lollygagging. Just immediately do 4 AAs and then move outside before this guy moves again. And then once you get outside, Frank moves down a little bit, so account for that when you move upright and then up into him. You can be either dead center with him or like a little bit to the left. It's pretty lenient. It's no big deal. You just it's a little bit more timing intensive than movement intensive. Oh, and during this fight, do a B and then auto fight until he's dead. And for this fight, it's a little bit more complicated. Blink and you'll miss it, the inputs. For turn 1, I do 4 Bs in a row. And you gotta make sure for each B that the menu closes and reopens. So the speed is like that you can do it, but you don't want to go that fast if you're trying to be safe and get through the manip versus be fast at it like I do. So you can probably do and be perfectly okay, just to make sure that every B input is registered properly. And from there, I move right to goods and then move down. Let me show that again. I move right to goods and then move down to the T-ball bat and use that on him. So that I smash, do 1B and then bash him. I actually don't auto fight like I did in this video. Bash him just to be a little bit safer, and you'll miss. And then I like to do B and then AB and then goods down to the bat again. And I do it really fast, so I can't show it very well. But yeah, you can get really fast at it, but take it slow if you're starting out, because you don't need to be you don't have to get an 1101 Frank to succeed. It depends on the spot, and I'm trying to go over each specific spot, whether I do something a certain way to save time or whether I do something a certain way to make sure that RNG is on. Inputs usually aren't timing intensive. There's a couple things. It depends. Okay, so I like to hold down left from Frank until I'm about aligned with this. Pointing again. I'm aligned with this grass patch right here. And then I hold down from there. And once I'm about to get into the door, I hold down left into the door so that I definitely hit the trigger. I move down and right around this arcade machine. And he does the same type of thing again. He moves left into here first and then moves up into you. All he says is yeah, so you cancel the text box one time. And once I'm about here is when I do 2 ABs. It's very easy. Okay, so about this, hold right to glide along that bush. And this is a little sketchy. You want to be like diagonally aligned with where the sidewalk meets the road, but it is possible to be too far to the left. So you would rather be a little bit too far to the right than too far to the left. Just keep that in mind. Frank moves down like that. Because if you're too far to the left, you'll immediately see like Frank does something different and everything's wrong. It's some RNG3 type thing. So move up and to the right. And a lot of this stuff coming up movement wise is like, this is like the hardest part of Onett right here. Well, not yet, but like after the town hall stuff. So I'm going to go very in depth on what my visual cues are. But I like to glide up on these bushes here to where I'm aligned there. And it doesn't really matter when you turn up left to kind of get into this little nook cranny here. But I like to do it to where I'm here and then there, and then I use the flowers as a guideline. And then I guess what you can do is kind of like, yeah, so I did it here. Move up left to where you kind of hit the left part of this bush. And then once you're there, you can hold left to glide off of this. And then move up and then up left into the doorway. Let me see if I can show you that again. Yeah. So you can kind of see that I did that.
1101
And then
you don't ever see that.
just hold left. This dude should
I
move
haven't gotten
down,
that in
right.
so long.
Do an AA in this room, and then I just hold right, and then like tap down a couple pixels. I'll check this guy from. You can check him from the left side, but you don't want to be too far to the left because you'll miss. And then I like to hold left and then kind of do the same couch bounce thing like I talked about at the beginning, except you're going to the left this time. And then go left and then just kind of make your way out of the room. I like to not glide against the wall here in case you get stuck on this pillar thing. I don't know if you actually get stuck there. I don't remember, but I've always done it that way just to alleviate the risk. Move your way out. That dude walks into the wall, and this is where things start to get tricky. So, alright, let me see if I can explain this. So when you come out, you want to hold straight down, and to get out of here, it's very easy to get stuck here. So, if you mess it up a bunch, don't worry about it. In fact, definitely practice this. Like if you drop it, practice it a few times, because there's not going to be any enemies or anything to stop you. It takes a lot of love to get good at this type of movement in this game. But hold straight down, and this is something that you get more and more used to the more comfy you get with EarthBound's environment and moving around it and stuff. But you can glide off of the very bottom of that stair. You can barely see it, but I do it. Not the stair, but like the guardrail of the stairs, I guess. You can glide off the very bottom of that, so that aligns you here. And when you walk through there, you kind of move up a little bit, and then from there you can do what I call a downright swivel. So I'm like, let me see if I can demonstrate this. Like I press down and then like swivel my thumb up to the right. So it's like right after I move up there that I do that. It's a little weird. Because there's a weird like stutter type thing that just happens when you hold down or when you hold right. It's weird. That's why it's so easy to get stuck in there. Is there's just weirdness there, but it's all about gliding off of that and then timing your downright swivel properly so that you get around this bush. If you do it too late, you'll be stuck against this, and if you do it too early, you'll be stuck against this. So it's just something that you gotta learn how to feel for, and don't feel bad if you get it wrong the first few thousand times. You'll get better. Just keep practicing it. And once you can move up to glide along this bush is when I turn up. And this is all very important because it's very tight because of all the NPC movement that's happening around here. So just keep holding up. You'll keep gliding on stuff. And then, oh, I thought it was here when I turn up. No, it's here. So when I'm aligned between where the grass meets the sidewalk is when I turn upright. I guess it doesn't matter. I can probably go up further, but this is when I like to do it. And then, okay. Moving around these trees is very difficult. But I have a visual cue that I look for. So the very bottom of Ness, you can see how he has a shadow and how his feet, the very bottom row of the pixels is the very bottom of his shadow sprite. So just kind of keep that in mind. And it's the same thing with pretty much everything else in the game. They all have shadows. They did a very good job giving things shadows and making them look nice and things like that. So this tree also has a shadow. So you can use that as a frame of reference. So you can see, see if I can pause it on the right frame. You can see that before I turn up left, I make sure that I actually went way up, and that's totally good. You don't want to time your up left movement too soon, because you will hit this tree in some weird way, even though you shouldn't hit it. and you'll get frustrated, and then you'll lose it, and then you won't know what to do. So make sure the very bottom of Ness's sprite, the very bottom of his shadow, is a couple or a few or even several pixels above the very top of the tree's shadow. So you want there to be a little bit of distance, and then crank it up and to the left. That's what I look for in order to get behind it. And it works 99% of the time as long as I'm focusing on it. Because sometimes when I do manip, I'm like not thinking. Either I'm talking to chat or I'm like zoning out and I'm falling asleep and I'm not thinking about it. But as long as you're thinking about it consciously, you should hit it every single time, as long as you're watching for that exact moment when to crank it up left. And then do the same thing again here. See how there's a little bit of distance, and then I crank it so that I'm moving this way as soon as possible, so that I don't accidentally risk moving way too late to where I get caught against the left side of this. See how much distance there is? There's actually not a lot of distance because this movement is so tight. So that's why I try to go as soon as possible. So yeah, Ness's feet were like right here. There's some distance between where the bottom of his sprite was horizontally and where the top of the shadow was horizontally. There's like 4 or 5 or 6 pixels of distance. You really only need 3 pixels of distance to where you can do it. But since I'm targeting for 3 and sometimes I'm a little bit late on my timing, that's just how it went. But you make it with plenty of leniency every time, as long as you're thinking about it. And it takes practice, so don't feel bad if you get it wrong at first. But hold up left, and then I like to like slice this off. Like if you got a block of cheese that's for some reason like a little bit weirdly shaped, and you want to make it into a square, kind of slice off the weirdness. So that's what I do here. Is I slice these things off. And that's important because if you're up too high, things can be wrong. And if you're down too low, things can be wrong. So slice off the cheese on the bottom of the path, and then kind of follow the bottom of the path here, and then glide up against these bushes. This is what you'll usually see if your movement is exactly as consistent and pixel nearly perfect as I am. This dude will be in your way, and then he'll move out of your way like, whoa, sorry. And then what I like to do, and you don't have to do this, but you have to make sure that you have to make sure that you glide off of these bushes and then hold straight up until you're against the wall. Or, well, you don't have to wait until you're against the wall, but you need to get far enough up to where you can open the menu and use the key without the door is locked text coming up. If that comes up, you're done, because RNG is way off. But what I like to do, what you can do for safety is make it all the way up against the wall and then use the key. But I like to not go all the way up to where you hit the wall, because if I'm a little bit too early, like I am now, it makes it easier for me to hold up left diagonally after I use the key to get into the door. Because what I've had happen to me before is I go up too far and I'm just to the right of the door, and I use the key and I hold up left, and due to some subpixel garbage, I don't enter the door, so I'm stuck against the wall, and then these guys get an extra movement in and I'm done. So that's why I like to do that, but you don't have to. What you can do to be extra safe is move all the way up against the wall of the shack, use the key to get in the door, and then move left just a little bit. Kind of do like a left tap. Or no, like do like a left up swivel. Like I showed you earlier. Left up, like that. Swivel your thumb up there to get into the door very safely. Once you get inside of here, do an ABL. Oh, I didn't even mention. Sorry. Go back. When you use the key, go to goods and then down twice to the key, not up once. that makes it to where you can do ABL inside of the shack. Or you can do up once to get to the key, and then you can do L, A, down B in here. You just have to get the right number of RNG updates done by the time you're inside of here, so that these guys do this weird kind of L thing to where they're facing like that. And this is kind of hard to explain. You can't hold up left to get into here every run. You can do it some runs. It depends on the subpixel timer. But what I like to do just to be safe is like and it's hard to explain, but and you don't have to do this, but like I'm holding up as the screen loads, and as soon as I gain control of Ness, I let him move up for like a little bit, like a pixel or two, and then I cut straight up left like that. So let me try and show that again. Let me see if it's visible enough to the naked eye. Probably not. But I don't know, you move up just a little teensy bit to where you can still, in fact, you could probably move up a good amount and still hit the door trigger, because look where I am. I'm way to where I'm in front of the door, and you can still hit the door from like probably here. That's true. I can slow it down. We'll see if we can see it that way. Yeah, so there. Yeah, thank you, Rithium. I didn't even think to do that. But yeah, you can see it, that I barely move up, just barely. And I do kind of the same thing here, is I'm holding left as I come into Giant Step, and then as soon as Ness can glide up on this wall, I hold up, and I don't... Is it in this video that I do that? Yes, it is. Okay, so what I like to do, what we used to do was go up into the corner and then get like really deeply lodged up in there, and then do ABL. You don't gotta do that. You can do that to be safe if you want, but it's pretty slow. What I like to do is I hold left, and then as soon as I'm like gliding up on the wall for a few frames, that's when I do the A. Whoa! That's when I do the AB. And when I'm all up in the corner, I do L, and then I hold straight left from there. Let me show that again. So it's like that. It's pretty lenient what you can do there, I think. But as long as the L probably has to be done in the corner there. But from there you can hold left, and then when I'm right about here, before the ant gets, or the slug gets unstuck from the wall to come down and meet you, I do the AB, kind of like here-ish. And then I keep holding left to where it comes down into you. And during that text, I'm already mashing L so that I do one L after it's over. And I wait it out, and the very soonest that you can start holding left is like a few frames after, because there's two types of iframes that you have after you finish a fight. So you have the really fast ones, and then you have the slow ones to indicate that it's running out. So once the slow ones start, I wait a few frames, and then I can hold left. But alternatively, if you want to be safe, you can wait until the iframes completely go away, or you can be like a little bit sooner than that, whatever you want to do. But you can hold straight left. And I like to hold up left when the thing encounters you, just in case I somehow magically get red swirled from it, because you want a blue swirl so that you auto win. But you shouldn't have to do that. I just do it anyway, just to be safe. But you get the second bomb, and then do another L, hold straight left. From there, while your iframes are active, none of these things will move towards you, so take advantage of that. Hold straight left. Do an AB. You can probably do it anywhere in this area here, and then go down left around the cliff. Then from here, just kind of make your way up. Try and follow my pathing here, so that you don't cross any weird RNG3s. When I'm around here, I head upright to get into the rope. And then when I'm at the bottom half of the rope, I do A up A to check the air. And then when I'm around here, I do an AB. And this is kind of important. This is something that I do just to be safe and also time effective. And it's let me slow it down again. So I do a similar thing to coming into giant step. Is I let myself move up a little bit after getting off the rope, but not too far, because if you're too far, it can get you in trouble. So, like, I get off the rope, and as soon as I can cut it to the left, I cut it to the left, so that this dude right here doesn't aggro onto you. If he aggroes onto you, that's fine. You just gotta stutter step away from it while maintaining this pathing. So keep going left, and then wait until, let me see here. Wait until, keep holding left until, what's my cue there? I know I have something that I feel for every time. Wait until, okay, wait until after this guy is done moving, and then hold up left, so that this guy doesn't also aggro onto you. Because either of those two slugs have a chance of aggroing onto you, and if they do, you have to react to it and stutter step away from them. You'll lose a few seconds, but you won't lose your run. So keep that in mind. Then I hold up against this wall here to get outside. Go back to normal speed. So here, I hold down and then do a down left swivel to get in front of this cliff. And to save a little bit of time, because they used to do like go all the way here and then do the inputs and then go straight up. That doesn't matter. I do the inputs here, and then I do up left into the door. I go right until I can make it in front of this without bumping into the wall. Glide up, and I do A down B. You can also do A up B if you want.
I'm actually getting really nervous.
And you want to be, I have always gone like way too low in this room, but I don't know exactly where is the least amount of low in here they have to go. I don't know exactly where the RNG3 line is, but I just aim for, to be safe, I just aim for being in dead center, or like even just below up dead center of this kind of room. Go that far down so that you cross the RNG3 line, like, and then go up again. Do A up A here, and then make your way up the ropes. And when you're on this rope, do a life up real quick, and then pop 3 L's. And then you want to make sure that Ness, the very right side of his sprite, is 1 pixel to the left of the very right side of this shiny sprite. So I give it several pixels of room just to be safe. You can also, just to be safe, talk to him dead center if you want. Anything you want to do to be safe. But it's 1 pixel of room there that you need to make sure you cross. So I like to turn 1, I go to goods, and then up 1, right 1 to get to that bomb, and then use it. You should do PSI magnet if you've done everything correctly so far. Throw the bomb, and then I do AB, go to goods, and then down twice to get to the bomb. You can also do 2 Bs, go to goods, and then go up once to get to the bomb, but I prefer the former because it's a little bit faster for me.
Oh. 0.0. I have 1.9 seconds of wiggle room.
So this is very tight because you see this little guy down here? He's gonna mess everything up if you don't do this correctly. So as soon as you get outside, you're already holding down right. Keep holding down right until you hit the trigger. And before you close out this text box, you're holding up left to get back into the door. There's no subpixel garbage or anything. You'll always hit it. You just got to make sure that you're perfect in your movement there. That's the only movement absolute perfection that you need. And it's very easy. You just got to make sure you do it. And then it's a pretty straightforward path out of each of these rooms. In this big room, I like to just hold down right until I'm about to hit the wall, and then I move right a little bit, and then down right some more, down the rope, down left, all the way down to these rocks. The movement's pretty lenient, but like I tried when I was first learning, I tried like going straight left from here, and it wouldn't work. So I like to just go down here, be near these rocks, and then just go left. Sometimes you'll glide off of that a little bit. I didn't this time. It's no big deal whether you do or not. And when you're vertically aligned with this spire is when you can turn down left. Sometimes I wait until after just to be safe. Because if you turn down left too soon, you'll hit something. But that's just a time save type thing. It's lenient, it doesn't matter. And then I like to move down a little bit further so that I make sure that I can glide off of this guy. And then, but you also glide above this guy so that you go behind those. And then go along the wall here, and then just keep holding right. These mice move away from you, but depending on whatever, I don't know what changes it. Sometimes the mouse will land here, sometimes it'll land here. Like it'll land in several different spots. But it's cool no matter what. Don't worry about it. Do an AA right before you exit the room. And then mash no for this guy. Hold down right and then hold down to glide off the right side of the bush to get into the door. And then here, you want to hold straight down until you hit this patch. Hold down right until you're horizontally aligned between this patch and this patch. You can also be like horizontally aligned with the patches, but I would rather, for safety, be in between. And then around here, I do A, B, A, A. The A can happen a little bit late. That's fine. In fact, I guess I messed it up here and I got nervous.
No.
Yeah, I was afraid of ghosting an extra cursor there. But you do A, B, A, A.
No.
And then when I'm roughly vertically aligned with this mole is when I turn down right and then just kind of down right, right, down right, right, down until you can glide off of here going down.
No.
Movement's pretty lenient, but this is a little tight again, but it's not that big of a deal. Once again, just use Ness's shadow as kind of a reference. The place I just had it paused at was good.
No.
So yeah, you saw that, I can't point at it now, but the top of Ness's shadow was a couple pixels below the bottom of this shadow. So just kind of use that. And then you can glide off of this tree. Coming down is a lot easier than going up. This guy should be here and then move down. And then you can just kind of move down and then around this tree and then be good. And the dog will either move right, left, or left, right. Both are acceptable. But sometimes, like once a week, you'll get it to where this guy is over here and then he moves down or something like that, and it's weird, and he'll be in your way. So all you gotta do to catch that is look out for it. Make sure that if he does that, you move a little bit left and then down, and then align yourself back to this rough position again so that you can get between these two trees. And as long as the dog moves either right left or left right like normal, you're fine. Same thing here. Get behind this bush, and then I like to cling as close to being aligned with these two patches as possible. You don't have to be perfect. This movement is very lenient. And then just kind of get between these two bushes. And make sure that you walk here. Make sure that you walk straight down until you're diagonally aligned with this sidewalk. It doesn't matter for Onett manip, but if ever you move on to learn Tucson, it's good that you get into this habit just because there's an RNG3 thing that affects something that happens way down the line. So just get into the building, do 2 AAs and 3 Ls. Make sure you talk to Strong and make sure you don't accidentally talk to this guy. Go to him from below. And this detective dude will either move right, up, right, like this, or down, left, up. Both are acceptable.
I think that was it.
So cop number 1, you can just auto him. This cop, just do a rocket. This cop, you want to do B rockin'. You can actually do B rockin' on the second cop as well, so if you do it by accident, don't worry about it.
What's up, 10 Charles?
Cop number 4, you can just auto fight him. Regular bashes work as well for cop 1 and cop 4. And then for Captain Strong, you want to make sure that you do AB rockin'.
No, 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 no.
That was just a timing thing that I'm freaking out about. And B auto. He's gonna hit you for mortal. Don't worry about it. As long as you keep mashing, you will live.
Yes!
And you'll have anywhere between 1 and like 11 HP. I think the most I've had is 10, but I think I've seen somebody with 11 once, so it's probably Doc.
Yes!
Oh, I was so happy when I got that. But yeah, that's Onett manip. It seems very, very daunting, and it is. It's 18.5 minutes of just, you can't make any mistakes, really.
Oh my god.
There are some things that you can do. There are some backups you can take. I'm not the person to ask for those. I don't have any of those on hand because I focus more on making my movement very, very consistent than going slow and being able to make mistakes and forgetting what to do. I prefer trying to make everything as consistent and the same across every single run as possible. But sometimes I go back on that and I start zoning out and then I do weird things. But
30.
that's what I like to go for.
Yeah, I definitely need to verify that.
If you kind of take this pathing and then go this way into the mouse house,
But yeah, that's skirting the line.
get the mouse and then come back out. Do an ABL.
I definitely felt the fire though.
Oh no, it doesn't go on far enough. But if you do that ABL, you should be clear. To not have any mushrooms spawn here. So that's a little bit further of an extension of manip that you can do. But yeah, that's that. It seemed like that take was pretty good. What else do I want to say here? Well, closing remarks. If anybody has any questions about Onett manip, you can come to me. I say come to me first. I'm always around. I'm always happy to answer those types of questions. But you can also go to Cerium. You can go to Daniel RGT. And you can go to probably any of the top like 20 runners that have like sub 4 or pretty close to sub 4 times, because they also know how to do Onett manip. But a lot of specific nitty gritty details. I have things that you can do to improve your performance and your consistency that a lot of people don't know about, which is why I'm making this tutorial to show people exactly what I do to make my movements as tight and consistent as possible across every single run, so that there's no weirdness involved and it's all in my control. Because that's the difference between this manip and Tucson manip, is that Tucson manip has some semi-random elements, and that's why I still struggle with it, despite being so proficient at this. But there's always something you can do. There's always something you can change. There's always something you can improve. There's always something you can practice on. And you don't need any more than what I just showed you. Everything I just showed you, that's all you need to get a really strong time. And I want everybody who has an interest in EarthBound and wants to learn it and wants to run it to give this a shot. So if you have any questions, come to me. And I hope this video helped you with a couple things. And I love you all very much. I'll see you next time. Yay, that was fun.